podcast.
Welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Mick Manhattan, joined as always by producer Paul, by Master Shake, and today we got our every so often co-host popping in whenever he's not backpacking over, in some other country. That is the man Sir Sturdy. So we got a full house today, and we are talking some pretty bad special effects and VFX, and then we're going to talk some of our favorite special practical effects. Dan may be a little sore with me today. I did just cut him off mid-sentence, and I know as a principal, that's got to be something.
I know, I'm used to that, man.
All right, I'll admit something. I think I might have admitted this on the show before, but I'm going to do it. This is like, if I'm a bad dad, this is like the terrible thing I do, right? I did it since they were babies too. Whenever they're talking and like you're just tired and you get them in the car and like you're getting ready to go out, drive somewhere. One of my favorite few seconds was as they were talking, just shutting the door and having that few seconds before I open up the door and get in and just kind of like reset. But like, it was just kind of like, yeah, boom. And then you just kind of move on. So that I kind of got that feeling again. Now, that's just recently with you, Dan, and I'm sorry, but
it's good, man. We had to start the show.
Yeah, I did wait until showtime. That is for sure. Before we get started, everybody, I want Sir Sturdy to talk about his wonderful shows and channels. Did you forget?
So, not at all. For those of you that do not know, I'm going to start off with Popcorn and Pints. I'm a co-host on Popcorn and Pints. Mick is an honorary co-host over there, along with James and Chris, which he has an awesome podcast called Stories from a Bar, which you guys should check out. But yeah, we just talk a bunch of movies there. We're actually doing the Bond franchise, it's getting better. After the third and fourth movie, it's definitely getting better. We're having a wonderful time with it, though, and you guys should definitely check out Popcorn and Pints over there on YouTube. I mean, why wouldn't you? And then there's Horror with Sir Sturdy. You're going to get a lot of stuff from Horror with Sir Sturdy. You're going to get the great horror movies, and then you're going to get a whole lot of weird stuff that most people probably won't watch, but that's what I'm here for, to introduce you guys to these movies, because as much as there's certain movies that I really don't like, I know I mentioned this a lot, Blood Lake, I hate that movie, but I do feel like it is important for people to check out from the best to the worst, because a lot of people have conversations about, what's your favorite movie, or what's the best movie you've ever seen, or what's the worst movie you've ever seen. But if you're only watching the theatrical releases, you haven't seen much. Yeah. And I'm trying to open people's eyes to see that and give a shine on those others that haven't been seen by the majority. Even if I don't like them, that doesn't mean you won't like them. So yeah, Horror with Sir Sturdy. Come check it out.
Yeah. So thank you so much for jumping in, man. Yeah, check him out over on Horror with Sir Sturdy, Popcorn and Pints. Check out his show Sturdovision. It's a lot of fun and so much more. I do have a couple of announcements. I know on our Patreon, I announced that we'll be doing a giveaway, and it's going to be our Valentine's Day giveaway, so to speak. But it's going to be the Beetlejuice popcorn bucket. This thing actually is pretty cool. It lights up, but I'm not going to pull the tab. I'm going to leave that for whoever wins it.
Is it pre-buttered?
No. But it has a little drawer here, so I don't think it's a great popcorn bucket per se, but it is kind of a cool thing, collectible to get. And one of our lucky Patreon members will get one. You can join for free. You can follow and help support. There's some tiers there, so go check it out now. Links below. Well, check it out after the show, but links below, and we will spin the wheel on February 28th. That's right. February 28th, we will do that. So thank you guys so much for letting me do that. If you'll indulge me for one more second, one more announcement coming up this weekend is Casters for a Cause live stream charity. It's on the 1st, starts at 3 p.m. It's a 10-hour live stream event, all for charity, to help go towards the American Red Cross to help with the wildfire relief efforts. Please join us for just like 10 hours of straight fun. Have a good time, hang out. Let's just BS and chill. It will be awesome. And donate. All the links are down below. You can watch us this Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, all the way till 1 a.m. We'll all be there. Tons of others. There's a great lineup. So go check it out down below. And all right, guys. So I thought we'd get started today. and that's going to be. Oh, I'll leave the Patreon up just in case anybody wants to sign up. So,
And the caster thing, seriously, people, that is something that is near and dear to me. I'm so happy that Mick lets me be involved with it. And it's just an awesome, beautiful thing. So let's really try to help raise money for these people in California that lost a lot in these fires. Because if it was you, you would want to help. You would need the help. And, we got to help each other. We're all people. Let's love each other and let's help each other. And I'm closing it out.
Heck yeah.
and
I will say, anyone that hasn't listened to Sir Sturdy, he will introduce you to good movies, because I introduce Helen Keller versus Werewolves a lot now, because he introduced me to that. And that's honestly a classic, and that's one I never would have given a chance ever.
And it's that's a fun watch party movie. It's a fun, turn your brain off, have a good time, and just forget about everything and watch it and laugh. And
it's a wild movie. I do want to say, Dan, I think you're muted because you were trying to talk and we couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry, that's my bad. I was going to say cocktails, but I muted so that way my cough didn't bug people. That's my bad. I'm sorry.
So what are you're going to be there for Casters for a Cause. You're doing Master Shake's moderately entertaining mixology minutes, which I never forget because I learned how to say it for my old show. We all had one on prime time. Yeah. So Dan is going to make 2 beautiful drinks
and
done by AI.
6 California beers.
Yeah, tell us about the drinks and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna introduce 6 California beers. The other half of Math and Smash, Math will be there with me to discuss the beers and the cocktails. 2 cocktails. One is in honor of just Los Angeles. It's gonna be a great mezcal based sour, if you're familiar with the term. It's going to come out a nice golden color, and I thought it looked like, being on LA, Mick, you were there, the sunsets are very smog induced, but also gorgeous,
gorgeous.
And then the second one is for first responders, and it's going to be this gorgeous blue color, with a separation between it's seriously, it's going to look like a blue line through, kind of smoke fog, because it's topped off with soda water. And so that delineation between, that is supposed to represent how they come out of the disaster, So it should be a really good time, informational. I haven't done the show in 2 years. So should go, exactly how it should, hopefully, because I did it. I mean, I did 2 full seasons of the show. So, I mean,
you're going to be fine, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like riding a bike.
I'm also going to do Let's Play for Arcade After Dark. Sadly, that's been on hiatus for 2 weeks because I've had pneumonia, and it's really difficult to A, stay up late enough because I get exhausted, but B, talk for long periods of time without coughing. So I'm going to do a Let's Play of Friday the 13th, and Math will also be on that, and his entire job is to talk about how bad I am at the game.
And I always got your back, man. If I got to jump in or something,
of course.
Don't worry, I'm here. And Freddie can stay off to the side. He can do whatever he wants to. But
I love that game, and I love the music in that game. So
I think it's underrated. I think it's the first real survival horror, personally, and it gets unfairly maligned, basically because of the AVGN. But as a kid, man, I loved that game. Never beat it. I beat it as an adult, but I never beat it as a kid just because it's really hard. But I played it a lot. So.
I'm excited. I can't wait to watch. And I'll be there, but I'll be watching it all as it unfolds from 3 p.m. Eastern until 1 a.m. So I hope you guys will all be there. Let's donate for a good cause, try and help some people out if we can, and try and break our goal if we can. That would be great. We're not breaking anything else that night, Dan.
If anybody donates $100,
no,
coming off the top of the ladder just for the show. It's going to be awesome. I've never gotten to come off the top of a ladder. I have my WWE Championship belt. I'm gonna do it Money in the Bank style, where I jump, grab the belt, crash through the table.
That's not gonna work.
It'll work.
You're gonna die.
No, it'll all be good. I'm all. I did a couple practice runs today in the gym of my elementary school. The ladder I have at work is the same, and I'm on the ladder all the time. We have some gymnastic pads. So I jumped off the top of the ladder on the gymnastic pads, and it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, but that's pads compared to a table.
Same thing. Same thing.
Oh my goodness.
It's not the same thing.
These two in
our
person
age.
together is reckless and dangerous.
It's a good time. You're always gonna have stories if you put us together and we're hanging out with you.
Yeah, and like I always say, like
It's gonna be a disaster.
You know,
Fire department call.
You gotta you gotta live life, and the best part is that I'll do anything for charity, and I think it'll be really entertaining. It's something I always want to do anyway. So hopefully somebody comes through, $100 donation. And
how tall is the chair? How tall is the ladder? I want to put a cap on it.
13.
13. You're going 13 foot. Wait, you've been how many gymnastic pads? First,
it was a like one gymnastic pad.
You fell 13 feet down.
Jumped. So higher
you
than
jumped 13 feet down and landed on what?
The pad. I did it like 3 times. It was fine.
From 13 feet.
Yeah. Flying elbow.
On that type of pad.
Macho Man style. Isn't that why? Well, my theory isn't that about how high you are when you are on the top turnbuckle?
I don't know.
No.
I would Google that.
I mean, maybe if you're if you're jumping off of the whole ring, but not to the ring.
I can't wait, man. It's gonna Macho Man is gonna be so proud of the air I'm gonna get. Oh,
are you gonna jump onto something though, like that's laying on the table, like a stuffed animal or something? You know,
no, just through the table, man.
Dude, all right. My funniest ladder story. It's not even mine. It's not even my story. It's a friend story. He got into an argument with us because he got up on a 6-foot ladder, but he was all on the top.
Yeah.
And like he's holding on to because we're working in the theater, and he's we're like, dude, you're gonna fall down 12 feet and break your neck. And he's like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, what? He's like, I'm gonna fall 6 feet. I'm like, what? You're 6 feet. And he's just like, yeah. And I'm on 6 feet, but my feet are here. So it starts from there down. I'm like, what are you talking about?
That's not how momentum works.
Gravity don't give a fuck about that.
Wow. No, it certainly does not.
I got some good air. Like the third time I did it, I got some good air too because I wanted to see like what would happen. I got some good air on it.
I really hope somebody donate. I want to see him do this. Listen, what I found out
of course you do,
from having listen, Mick. What I found out from having grown up with Caucasians and having Caucasian friends, when they say they want to do something crazy, there's nothing that I can do to stop them. They're either gonna do it with me there or me not there, and I want to see it. So, you know, I'm not
last year. So last year, when the Lions beat the Rams in the first round of the playoffs, all of my friends said there was no way I would go out and do a stone cold shirtless because it was negative 16 degrees at the time. So I went out in my boxers. Boots on, of course. So I had boots and boxers on, and I did a full stone cold right in the middle of a blizzard to celebrate the Lions winning their first playoff game since I was 8.
I respect it.
And I'm excited, man. And I really do hope somebody donates. And it's not just because it's like this thing I've always wanted to do. Charity's great. And get out there and do, if you can't afford to donate, retweet it because we've all been posting it and we'll continue posting it. Retweet it, whatever, whatever platform you're on. Do we have anybody on Blue Sky tweeting it?
Yeah, I've been tweeting it out on Blue Sky.
Oh, okay. I just thought about that. I was like, man, I put it on Facebook and Instagram, but did anybody like put it out there on Blue Sky? I'm not on what's the other one? X now? Is that what it's called?
I'm not. I'm only on Blue Sky, Letterboxd, and YouTube.
So I didn't like. If you can't afford to donate, totally understand. I mean, everybody has their own thing. But
share.
Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff, all the good stuff. Because we want to, and people may look and say like, oh, what, you guys raised $1,000?
Hey, listen, it's something.
It's something. And like,
raise $1, it's something. We want to just help.
I have 24
like that Beatles song.
subscribers. Calm down. That's pretty good.
Although that's what I think that like it matters. Every little bit matters, whether it's something that's movement in the right way or money. So
positive thing going on, and
exactly.
if it helps some people, that'd be great. All right, but we are going to be doing that. It's not going to be the worst. It's going to be greatest, but it's going to be the worst. Our conversation tonight, gentlemen.
No, it's going to be perfect.
It's going to be perfectly about the worst.
Yeah.
I wish I got Joe in here, my buddy Joe, because he is a visual effects artist, and he worked in visual effects artist. So I would love to pick his brain, but he'd also get really shitty with my list. So you're not a fight right now, Joe, but maybe in part 2. But I want to talk about the worst in visual effects. Like what really pierces our eye, visual and special practical effects. I want to hit both on these. I want to talk about some of the worst stuff. We've talked about the best.
Yep.
Let's get into the worst. Give me a shining example of what you think like, and I want to put a kind of a bit of a parameter on this. Don't punch down at like trauma. Don't punch down at like that sort of level of filmmaking and say, like, because it is low budget, but also that's what they use. I wouldn't call it the worst. I'd say that's good for them because that fits.
Well, it's budgetary, right?
Yeah, I don't want to punch down at anybody who does that. I'm talking studio grade independent films and up.
Okay.
Which is ridiculous within itself. It really. Never mind. We'll save that for.
Well, I do think we really got to like segment too between practical and digital too with this, because like poor practical effects are fundamentally different than poor digital effects, right? Yeah. And so like I do think we need to differentiate that. Like,
well, they may be different in terms of maybe in a tangible sense, but either one can take you out of a movie real fast, though.
Real fast. I
think anything effects wise can bring you out if it's bad, just like it can lure you in if it's great, right?
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? What are you guys thinking here? Because you guys are big horror fans.
So do you want to go first, Sturdy? I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
Oh no, go ahead. I just had one right here, but go ahead.
So I tried to cut them up, and going through. I wrote 8 pages on this stuff. I did research and I wrote stuff down tonight.
Let's go, Paul.
I'm gonna let Shake and Paul have this one. Just back and listen.
So the first category I had in there was immersion versus distraction. Exactly what you guys were just saying, because I do think you can have, like, for me, The Mummy Returns 2, or just the Return of the Mummy. So the second movie, the CGI is awful, and I feel like it takes away from the movie. I would have preferred just him in makeup, whatever. Practical effects, and it probably would have been just fine, but I feel like that distracted, and it does as an adult take away a lot for that movie. And I think, obviously there are different budgets for everything, so I had budget versus creativity. I feel like as long as you have a good story, a lot of times people will overlook bad CGI or even bad practical effects
100%,
because you have a good storyline.
One that comes to mind. Even the more absurd the storyline, the more you can get away with, I would say.
Right. But I will say, however, even some absurd story. So for me, the worst practical effects I put down as Trolls 2.
I was going to ask if Troll 2 counted. Trolls. Wait.
Bullshit. That can't be worse.
2? Troll 2 is different than Trolls 2.
Let me see. What did I write down?
Trolls. Wait, what?
So Trolls 2.
Troll 2. I'm sorry. Troll.
Okay.
Troll.
That's it. Like Troll 2. I didn't put it anywhere on my notes because I
Trolls 2 is the cartoon.
Yeah, it's a cartoon, right?
That was
I didn't put it on my list because I consider it be independent. It's not a major studio release, is it, Mick?
Well, it doesn't have to be a major studio release, but it was more so. It was like a sequel to a movie, so like it was a produced studio independent. Like a lot of them you see now are Searchlight and things like that. But back in the day, like Canon, Orion,
yeah,
like
any Canon film.
Independent studios, but they were produced independent movies, but they were backed and distributed by studios. So Yeah, so it's sort of like those, not that level of. Let's just say like the lowest is like where Mel Gibson is right now, and he's doing well. No, okay, that
I don't know
level
where he
of
is.
type of movie,
Yep.
but it doesn't have to be just because I like Mel Gibson. So if that's
I agree though, Paul. Like like immersion versus distraction. What do you think is Sturdy?
or 50
I'm
Cent,
gonna say
go.
I'm gonna go with Freddy vs. Jason, and I like the movie, but the that caterpillar, that was bad.
Oh,
It was
Oh my
funny looking
God,
back, but it
yeah.
was really, really, really bad. And I feel like you were saying with the story, or whether the story's good or fun or whatever the case it is, that connects you with it. As long as it keeps you interested, that stuff doesn't really bother me too much. It takes away a little bit, but it's not like, oh man, I don't like this movie. Versus another one, which is a lower tier, yes, but I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Jurassic Shark was just terrible.
Oh my
The
God.
CGI really bothered it for me.
Those count. Those are
The CGI in that one bugged me a lot versus Zombies 2, the hippo scene, because the way that they tied it in, like I feel like if you have bad CGI and stuff, if you could tie it in good and tie it in fun or funny, like they had a hippo throwing somebody off of a kayak and then catch them in its mouth. Hilarious. It worked. It was fun. It was funny. I wasn't mad at it. I enjoyed it. But then, you have other movies that just kind of, and they're on the same level. It's just they don't utilize it correctly, in my opinion, to really keep you interested or keep you having fun with it. They just kind of throw it in there.
To throw up another example of the first one, Freddy vs. Jason with the caterpillar, and I want to see what you guys think about this. Even that being as bad as it was, right? It was sort of reminiscent to going back to 3 in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 with the worm, with the Freddy worm, right?
And that was great.
And that was great, and it was
Yeah.
a practical effect, So like it's such an interesting. But if you look at it by today's standards, it's not great. It's
what's funny about though is like, so what you have there. So this is what was a category for me to piggyback on Paul.
Mhm.
I went with necessary versus unnecessary.
Okay.
And we have a ton of stories of digital effects being put into film that there's absolutely no purpose. Great example is in episode 2, Star Wars episode 2. There's the whole scene where he's using the Force to send food at Padme.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that food digital? There is zero reason. Or X-Men. Halle Berry refused to wear white contacts for the scenes where she was summoning the lightning and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only was it expensive, it looks like crap when her eyes turn to white, because it's this weird, like, I know it's like mutants, but like it looks unnatural and weird. And so to a subcategory almost of that idea of immersion versus distraction is this idea of people just interjecting where they don't need to, where it's completely unnecessary. And I do think digital effects specifically fall into that category a ton.
Well, let me ask you this on that, because then and Paul, I got some I want to ask, but on your next point, what do you think in terms of, for your own personal opinion, between practical effects and visual effects? What do you think misses more, in terms of really shining with either?
And in my opinion, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I want to.
I think CGI fails us more, because I feel like if you're doing practical effects, like you think of the Thing from 2011, right? So the prequel to the other Thing, they made it for practical effects, and I feel like those people probably took hours upon hours of work into it. They wanted it right, and then just got masked by CGI. So to me, I feel like CGI, yes, it is an art. Yes, it takes work. I'm not saying it's easy. I still think maybe people are just a little more sloppy with it because they're letting something else kind of take over some of the grunt work of their art, as opposed to practical effects where they're trying to make a name for themselves. Because I mean, how many makeup artists do we know? Like you got to stand out. You got to do your job. You got to do 100% every time, even if they're going to mask it. So in my opinion, I would probably say that the practical effects are always going to be on point, at least, if not phenomenal.
Yeah, and even there, you got to have a good reputation. A lot of that is reputation. Well, everything is reputation in it, but it's a little more finite when it comes to those practical, or makeup and hair and such. Yeah, I definitely agree. What you got, guys? What do you think?
I agree with Paul, and I'll even say I can take and respect and forgive bad practical effects more than I could the CGI stuff. A lot more, because at the very least, and I'm not taking away from whatever they do with the CGI, but you're building this with your hands, you're putting it together, you're doing it with whatever you have, whatever kind of dollars you have. And then the other way is just digital. And like Dan was saying, like Paul was saying, like when it looks bad, it looks really, really, really bad. With practical, you're like, you know what? I understand what they're trying to do. I get it. I can't do that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I can do the CGI, but I'm just saying I can learn, not taking away, but I can learn CGI more than I can learn a practical effect.
I would actually disagree with that. Oh, quickly, you'd have to have
not quickly. I feel like
everything.
I mean, as far as learning the CGI faster than as far as like putting something together with the practical effects, like making
I would actually
the heads and all that.
That I would say that depends. I would need to know how good you were with a computer first, your computer literacy first.
I can't color in numbers, so practical effects are out for me. I am not artsy at all.
No, I think you do well. I think it's a different world, man. Like I remember when I was, in college we had to take a makeup class, and once I found producing, I wanted to produce. I was all in. I was like, but I needed to learn everything, right? It's college. So this is like a 1 month course with like a 4-hour class every other day, and then a 4-hour lab the next day. And you just had to make like face-off esque type of, not contest, but they're like kind of show offs at the end. Not on that level. We're all college kids starting out, but I'll never forget the first day, and I'm proud of this still. The first day, my teacher walked up to me while we're doing the first lab, and applying the makeup, and so she goes, "What do you want to be in the industry? What do you look for?" I was like, really writing and producing is really where my heart lies. And she goes, "Good, stick with it." And I will tell you what, not only did I go home every day and practice and practice and practice, and then come to labs and got better and better. I got an A+, and I got to be like a helping hand on a set for makeup effects. That's how I earned the respect. Paul, I'm going to tell you, it's a pain in the ass. Pain in the ass. So if it's something you want to try, maybe try and get on like an assistant. It's very easy. It's more like shop than it is.
That's what I was going to say. I
art.
think practical effects are more handyman than like art.
Yeah, well, even shop, I would say, is an art to itself.
Yeah, I'd say it's an art form. I just mean more like you have to be so you brought up Freddy versus Jason, and I'd never thought about the worm really. That's such a dumb scene anyway. But like the effect that stands out for me from that movie, and it's a practical effect, is the bladder work for the blistering arm. And the way they basically did it is it just had the bladder for the arm, and then they just had tubes going down it, and the guy was following behind it, smoking cigarettes and blowing the smoke through the tube.
That's cool.
And it's like that's so creative. What I'll say is I think that I'm just kind of reiterating what Sturdy and Paul both said, but I want to define it a little bit better. I think that practical effects have a shorter spectrum for failure and success. Digital effects have a much broader spectrum of success. Like top end digital effects are just, they're untouchable, right? But I think that a lot of people in practical effects can reach that level. I mean, granted, you have your real artists like Screaming Mad George and stuff, right? Like you have your real artists that are always like at the very top. But if you're talking the generalists in the industry, I think that your very top digital effects artists are more impressive than your average very top practical effects, and then vice versa. The people at the very bottom of the effects are far worse than your worst physical effects people. And like, so that spectrum, it's almost like if you're going to choose the digital side, you're taking a bigger risk for it to really mess up. But if you go the practical side, you have more room for error, because a little bit of error, like Sturdy said, that's it. Like I said, like kind of combining both what they said, that kind of like into a definition. It's really a spectrum, right? And both of them have two different spectrums. And like the worst VFX always looks far worse than the worst practical effects. I think practical effects, I think about something like the Shatner.
Hey,
Well, I was thinking the Shatner plane scene from Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone. Yeah.
Wow. I told you don't punch down.
But that's not punching down either. The Twilight Zone is a big deal. NBC production, all that stuff. And that episode got into syndication. It was shown thousands of times, right? There's so much so that you have to get a different version. There's one version that's rotoscope that survived on into the modern age. There's one version that's not. And if you watch the rotoscope version, it's even worse. But like,
I mean, I would argue because of the oversaturation, which listen, from a producing budgetary standpoint, I get it. It's cheaper to film on green screen rather than go to locations. And that's one of Hollywood's biggest downfalls, is like they started taking away and chipping away at budgets on the below the line side, not on, the actors or whatever else take hits, so that way we can bring it down. So then what you get overinflated movies, but now you've cut down to locations where you're basically just in a green screen the entire time.
like
So
Ian
there's-
McKellen when he got mad at The Hobbit.
Yeah, so you rent that out. That's basically what Netflix does. With their stuff, and they're all moving all over the place. That's what Hollywood is screwed. But you get with the visual effects, like there's such an overabundance of it that it's actually, they're so poorly treated, visual effects artists, honestly, underpaid, criminally underpaid. Like no real union protection or anything. It boggles my mind how it's still going on. But there's such an overabundance. I think people have gotten tired because it's so overused, because of course visual effects is cheaper than practical, because anytime you use anything that's actually like tangible, it's going to cost a lot more. And they can underpay the visual effects artists, unfortunately. I'm not laughing at that. I'm like sadly laughing. But so practical effects are, unfortunately, in some ways, sort of on a professional level, been a declining art form for a while, especially gets hit with COVID and shutdowns, things like that. So I feel like the special effects, if it could make a comeback, it's not going to be anytime soon, but if it could make a comeback, could be something really special. And if we can infuse it with visual effects like a la Jurassic Park or something like that, then we could have something really special. But we got to get away from just visual effects.
That was gonna be my question, is how do you feel about when they blend, like, so Dune and Dune 2, right? Like they have this like 75, he has a, like Villeneuve has a rule of 75-25 or something like that. I remember reading an article about it. And like, does it make it too expensive so that way you can never truly make, like, because like you think about like the Marvel movies, right? It's entirely like digital, but they make billions of dollars. You make Dune 2, you're never going to make $1 billion. Even if the movie makes $1 billion, you're never going to have that kind of profit, because
you're going to have the acclaim because it's also getting nominated. It's also going through a lot. Like the actors get nominated, the actors go on to bigger things and then come back and do a sequel. And, so like it's a moneymaker for a lot of things, franchise, merchandise, all this stuff. So like some of those are, but like for Dune and Dune 2, like that was the perfect breakup. It's now a 2-piece. This director, who is an award-winning and acclaimed director, he's like iconic now, and on that level with like what's his name, Inception and Interstellar. I don't know what,
Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. So like he's on that level with them now. He's in Ridley.
Nolan has the same rule too. He's like 75-25 or whatever. Like,
yep, and they all do. Even Spielberg. I don't know what his cut is, but like he does predominantly, on sets and such, because that's what he loves.
So do you think Cameron's like a sellout because of stuff like Avatar?
No, I just think that's his thing.
Okay,
and that's why I don't have an issue with the likes of somebody like Cameron, who is so ingratiated in visual effects. That's where he started. He started as a visual effects artist. You know, he would draw the scenery like for Escape from New York and stuff on the glass board, so that way he'd have the skylines and other shit. That's where he loved that, and he loved that idea. So like, that was just his life, and he always seemed like the guy that adapted to what's better.
Okay,
you know what I mean, like animatronics to animatronics mixed with visual effects to, honestly, at one point, like, what is it? Avatar is purely visual effects, really.
I mean, I feel like anytime they're on Pandora, it's like,
yeah. So I don't know, stuff like that, like the Denis Villeneuve movies, like they're going to be money makers, but they're also going to be money makers because the studio is going to win awards, and that studio wins awards, they're going to get bonuses and make money, and it's going to put a claim on them. So the Marvels sort of pay for, not anymore though.
Yeah,
they're getting expensive as hell.
Yeah, well, because the actors are actually in the role. Like, they had
to rein it in quite a bit. Like, I think Secret Wars is going to have less people than Endgame had at this point. Anyway, I talk too much. I want to hear what you guys have to say, because you're more of the practical effects and visual effects side. So, Paul, you said you had a lot of notes. What else you got for me?
Yep. Okay. So, and talking with some of my friends, because I always look to them for advice, I was like, what's a list of some movies, that you consider with bad effects and stuff? And I wouldn't say all of them, because it's not fair, but a majority, listed anything like older than the 90s, right? And I really tried to look into that. So I wrote a paragraph. I'm just going to read it because I can't remember all that. So I said, many older films we now consider bad effects were actually pushing the boundaries of before it was even possible to do it. Understanding this context can help us appreciate these movies for what they accomplish rather than judging them by today's standards. Why do these movies succeed despite having subpar special effects even to today's standards? First, it's human beings being natural storytellers and us being story consumers. We're wired to connect with compelling narratives regardless of their technical polish. So I think, to me, that's a big thing, because I think a lot of people, even black and white movies, are looking at, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. They'll watch that and they're like, nothing's happening. This is bullshit, whatever. It's like, but you don't understand what was happening back then, what they could do back then. Like how many boundaries were pushed in that, or even, you say Space Odyssey 2001. People are like, that's shit compared to any space movies now. I'm like, you don't understand what they had to do to make it look like that, especially back then with what little they had available to them or could do.
I mean, the light travel scene at in the end of the movie alone, like how they did that with the exposure of the lens in a black room with lighting coming, and all they did was pull away from so the other part is this is like they were, so is Raimi bad because he came up with his own Steadicam, and honestly his version of it, I think in some cases, is better.
It's not. That's the thing. It's not bad at all. That's the beautiful thing about filmmaking and the tech side and like that below the line. And I know nobody wants to do it because the glitz and glamour of the actors and everything. And I like the cinematography and directing, but of like the award shows like that is the night before the Academy Awards is the technical awards.
What actually makes the movie? Yeah.
They're good watch if you can watch them. Like they're pretty good. And you get to kind of see people behind the scenes like really celebrated. Like I still wish stunts would get celebrated, but whatever. I will always advocate for stunts, but the beautiful practical effects. But to Paul's point, and so that way I'm going to say first, so I get to shine before Dan does. But let's take it back to the silent era, and I'll take it back to the first practical effect movie, if you will. And honestly, I've heard it called the first horror movie as well, because it scared people the first time they saw it, and that was the Lumiere brothers train pulling into the station, which was the first film people saw, and it was being projected onto a brick wall in the basement of like an establishment, a restaurant establishment, and people thought the train was going to come right through the wall at them. They didn't know what they were seeing. They had never seen this before.
I love that.
And if you're gonna if we're calling practical effects, if that scares people, and it shocked people or whatever it was. Like that's a practical effect. So, but I know Dan, you had some in mind as well.
Well, two in particular. One of them I would really like a trip to the moon, obviously, and like it was kind of talk about what Paul said, or even what Sturdy said earlier about how like when you're watching these things, it's so impressive what people are able to do. Like, imagine watching that and really like, wait, did they actually go to the like? To think about it, and the comparison I would make is how people are like, well, Kubrick filmed them actually going to the moon. No, he didn't. But isn't it amazing that people think he did? Because wow. And so you have that time period, but pushing forward, you have even more like some of the stuff, especially in this like golden age, right? You have one of my favorite shots in the world. They took a camera, suspended it from the ceiling, and essentially, I would consider this one of the very first tracking shots. I'm trying to remember the name of the filmmaker, and I can't, but there's a shot where the camera moves over the top of tables as people are at the tables drinking cocktails, and it zooms in on the protagonist.
Oh, it's a Citizen Kane.
So, like,
that's more of a cinematography trick, and it was actually frosted.
No, so it's way before Citizen Kane. This is like 1924. I can't remember.
I was thinking about when it comes through the skylight into the window while she's crying.
This is forward, and everybody is like, "Is this? How did they do this effect in camera?" Right? Because there's no way. I mean, 1924. There's no way to. And so they have this, and that's cinematography. You're right, but like the camera moves in, and the perspective of the viewer and the audience goes over the top of tables long before Steadicam, long before Sam Raimi put it on the end of a 2x4.
Oh, they were so creative. You're talking about like, John Ford was running around that time doing crazy shit. So like that
necessity.
That's awesome. No,
necessity is the mother of invention, right?
You have to. I'll tell you what, your best friend below the line on a set to get anything done, the problem solvers, the grips, give them the credit. Because the grips will figure it out. That's why as soon as you were like, nobody could have figured that out at the time. I'm like, yeah, they could. No problem. The grips will figure it out. They'll put it on 2x4s and two people will carry it across. They'll do whatever they got to do to make it happen. Grips are the backbone. I will say it. The grips are the backbone of the of a film set.
And I think to practical effects, I bet you they probably get to be good buddies, right? Like the grips and the like SFX people.
I think everybody becomes sort of, I don't think it's any like exclusivity, but like, yeah, everybody kind of gets to know. And like, we all go to each other whenever we need something, Well, I don't do it anymore, but like back in the day, we all go to each other if we need something, pick something up, or everybody. It's like a family. If I'm being real.
I mean, you go through the history of cinema and you get into, Paul mentioned Psycho. I will say this, practical effects wise, the worst blood, because I know Sturdy, you're all about horror. So is Paul. And I love horror. Mick does too. Like the worst blood I see, and it all comes down to whether or not they put the right tincture of green inside the red that they need to do. Do you guys know who said that?
I'm gonna guess Savini.
Wait, say it again.
Savini.
Was it?
So Tom Savini said, and this is it. So he, in multiple documentaries I've watched, he's brought this up, but he actually discovered it. It was either on the set of The Burning or the one where he blew up the head the first time. Maniac, is that the one where he blew up the head the first time? Yeah. So on one of those two sets, he discovered, and the guy's a Vietnam vet. And
that's how he got his inspirations.
Yep. And so he's like, it's too red. And so he sat around and he talked to people, and probably artist people. And he was like, how do I get this to be darker? And they're like, well, you put green in. So he found the perfect blend of red, and you can tell. So Psycho, I'll say this, one of the criticisms that I have, and it's weird because I got to imagine at the time, it was like revolutionary that you saw the blood swirling around the drain, right? And Hitchcock's untouchable. But how much you want to bet that was bright green or bright red blood, right? So
I can't tell, it was black and white.
I bet you it was. And so
I don't know. That's a good question.
And you get into the 70s and 80s when they're really pushing the boundaries of, I'll say this, like one of the most impressive things in the world for me is stop motion.
Yes.
Stop motion.
And
is
so to
fire.
bring it
I
back
wanted to
again,
kind of leave stop motion to its own thing. That's why I didn't really bring it up because I had a few stop motions on my list. But yeah, let's get into it a little bit though, because I do want
like,
to
think about King Kong,
Yeah.
right? Sir, do you see King Kong yet? The original?
I've seen various. Yes, yeah. I might.
People
yes.
people were
at least the show and stuff. But
terrified by that film. And they did
It was
this.
chocolate syrup in Psycho.
It was so. Oh God, I
I can
wasn't
see
even read
that.
then.
Yeah.
But the consistency of it is off for me.
It was also chocolate syrup in Night of the Living Dead.
Awesome. But that stop motion they use in King Kong
Mhm.
is so good. And if you watch the effects in it, it looks like it's digital because they use that rear projection. You have scenes where the stop motion's going on, and then you have the rear projection. You know, this is pre-Harryhausen too. That rear projection of human movement at the same time, the stop motion for the ape is on the screen.
Yeah.
I got to imagine when that came out, people went in theaters, they were like,
They were amazed. Like, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you should go
Like-
back and if you get a chance to read some of the reactions. I don't know if on YouTube they would have people's reactions, but they have had older actors and older filmmakers and stuff go back and talk about seeing it in theaters. So if you can get some, the idea of it, but just reading into it in the history of King Kong, it's mind blowing. It's like think of the last mind blowing movie you saw, where you were really like, oh, like wow, that's crazy. That's what it was. It was the Lumiere brothers with the train in the station. It was something so different and so unseen. You walked out of there just kind of like, I need to see it. Like for me, and Dan, shut up. This is a pivotal moment in my filmmaking life. This scene in Jurassic Park, I was in a theater. It was opening weekend, packed, and like we were like towards the front. So like, you know, I'm 93, so I'm 11.
6'8".
yeah, Mick was already 6
playing basketball for the Chicago Bulls by the time
dunking over Michael Jordan.
No, I don't think
Yeah, I'm showing up. I remember I went there, I was 10. It's probably all of like 4'9".
No, you're thinking of Sean Bradley.
Anyway,
I was thinking about from
because as tall as the dinosaurs, they brought him in for a double.
Yep.
I was in the chair as a
Jurassic
kid
Mick.
with popcorn in my drink, looking up at that screen, and let me tell you, when that Brachiosaurus is shown for the first time, mind blown. I knew right then and there, and I've said this on the show, I've said it in life. Anybody who knows me knows the story, except for these three, obviously. No, but anybody listening, so like that was the moment where I was like, I want to do this for my life. And what does that mean? I want to make people feel like I just felt. And that's why it's always going to be special to me, because I went home. I went to a birthday party after that. And then I went home and I wrote in one of those marble notebooks, 90 pages, front and back, Jurassic Campground, the first feature-length screenplay I ever wrote.
Do you still have that?
I don't think so. It's just, I have a lot of I have like a whole box of my writing and stuff. So over the years, so
Would
maybe,
you call
but
that
I'm not ready to go down that
the most?
yet.
Would you call that the most impressive SFX moment in your life? Like
left it. Jesus,
contextually.
dropped
Or
everything.
most inspiring, maybe?
Well, I think we should go around and say, like, before we do our list, because obviously the list is important. I think we should go, because I like to define eras of film by their SFX. And I think there are very specific movies throughout history that changed cinema. You know, it's not my most impressive, but one of them I think is Terminator 2, speaking of James Cameron.
For the 90s?
Terminator 2 changed what it meant to be a blockbuster using special effects.
Yes. Agreed.
And so, you know, or you go back to different eras in history. It is on my list, but Ben-Hur in 1959, and
I
like
knew he was getting there.
yep, and there are all kinds of movies that changed. You know, The Matrix.
But that's the thing. You said Terminator 2, the 90s.
Mhm.
And so had the Matrix. And if you're gonna, and yes, I am not trying to downplay Terminator 2. And if Terminator 2 didn't do what it did, the Matrix couldn't exist. But the Matrix, in terms of defining,
You think it's more interesting?
yeah.
So what do you think is your
absolutely.
most impressive? Like, not best, because obviously our best list is different, but like as a whole film, not moments. What is the most impressive contextually film you've ever watched? Like when you went to the cinema, you were like, this is going to shape and alter the landscape of film for the rest of time.
Jurassic Park was definitely one.
Was that, you think it was number one?
Is one.
No.
What do you guys think? Let's let everybody talk.
I'm trying to think about that one. That's a tough ass question.
Mine is
I know,
currently
he's
my
throwing-
background. So I'd go with, honestly, for me, cinematography wise, I'd go with Nope.
Interesting.
Nope.
Just mind blowing to you.
Astonishment. Honestly, for me, yeah, I'm sitting there. I'm like, how'd they get the shot? How'd they do this? The landscapes they did, especially the visualized night shots. I saw it, I think, 3 times in theater that first weekend just to try to figure out what was going on before I looked it up. Just to figure out. And I was wrong, but
Paul, try reading a magazine. If it's not, if you can read it online. American Cinematographer.
Oh, okay. I can remember that.
It's the best in my opinion. It's the best filmmaking magazine.
Nick, they're not sponsoring us. Careful.
I don't care. I'll always, unless they dropped off drastically and became like something that it's not supposed to be. I don't know. I will always praise it. I have to go back and check them out, but they were always had great interviews, and there were cinematographers, camera operators, and camera team, and like so many more jumping in. It's not just limited to that, but and talking about what cinematography is and how it plays together. I'm sure the website might have some stuff on Nope too, if you wanted to look at that, in their archives. But I just love that magazine, and we are going to do a full episode on cinematography coming up soon. But like going back to what you were saying, Dan, like for me, if I'm going through and I'm just scanning through my head, and I'm probably not going to hit everything because I can't think of everything at the moment. Trip to the Moon was a big one. In the 20s. I mean, definitely the general, I would say, is probably for the teens.
But you got to see that in the theater? I mean, you personally.
Oh, I thought you were asking me by decade what was the most one.
You personally.
Maybe Harold Lloyd Hanging Off the Clock. That was a big one. But anyway, me personally in theaters, what blew me away? Let's
like just blew your doors off.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh shit. That's a good.
I'll give you guys time. I'll go. I'll give you guys time because I know. Two Towers, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. Not the first one. The first one was great. Don't get me wrong. Fellowship.
Yeah, no. Two Towers really did ramp it up with the.
It was like, especially and in particular, Helm's Deep. But like that film, I was not prepared in my head for the scope nor the detail that they achieve in that film. And that's quite a bit of digital effects. I want to say Peter Jackson trends towards that anyway. Maybe that's like 40-60 physical to digital. But I was not prepared for that level of film. Because Fellowship is if comparatively to the other two and a lot of other epics, Fellowship's a small movie, right?
Yeah.
The biggest scene is that fight scene with the 100 Uruk-hai, really, and you get the spot where you go to Rivendell and stuff. But for the most part, that's a pretty small film. And then you get in the Two Towers, and the very first shot is that the camera careening over the top of the mountains. And the sound of Gandalf's voice in the background, right? And then it flashes directly into Frodo waking up from a dream as he's on the cusp of the swamp. And like, I think the effects in that film took stuff to a level that maybe hasn't been equaled as far as achievement since. I want to say,
I would at least very much say impression.
Yeah. Like I want to say Inception, I wanted to say Dune, but I really or even, and I gotta hand it to George Miller, the first Mad Max film.
I mean,
But
like
that's
we might as
mostly
well get.
practical.
I'll
Like,
tell you
that's
what,
wild.
we're already reaching this point where we should just talk about our top 5. So
Oh.
before we get
Wait,
started,
sturdy.
Story we got.
I got nothing right now. That's a good ass question.
We'll generate it for us. Hey guys, top 5. We're talking about our top 5 countdown of special effects scenes with practical. We're gonna have some fun tonight. If you're ready, we're at 55 minutes already.
Sorry, I feel like that's a great.
No, I love it. I love it, and I'm down for a part 2.
I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, next time you got to send us your notes, guys, so that way we're prepared with you. Because I draw it from like, what do I know? So, and I don't know everything, but we're gonna get started on this tonight. So we're talking about our top 5 practical effects in movies, like just different scenes that really kind of blew us away. I don't have many parameters on mine other than I just really dig them. I really dig these practical effects. So like I'm usually the one who's always putting like these strict parameters on. Does anybody have any parameters on theirs?
I just these are my favorite. They're not necessarily the most technical. They're just my favorite.
I love it. What you guys got? Everything?
I'm gonna be honest, these were just the first ones that popped in my head, and I remember just thinking these scenes like, "Oh shit," or "Wow," or whatever the case may be. So I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna use them.
Love it.
No point in
It's pretty much how I did it too. I just kind of sat there. I didn't, look up anything like that. I just sat there and was like, "What, 5 scenes jump out at me or that I think of with the topic." And,
you have like 8 pages of notes on regular effects, and you forgot to think about this one.
Yeah,
I love
this one took the least amount of thought.
Well, I mean, because you probably know already. You're a big you're like the practical effects. So I could see like where, like me, I had to put some thought into it because I'm like, I don't know. All right, number 5. Let's go around the horn. Let's start with Dan. Dan, what's your number 5?
My number 5. Bring up my notes. The chest buster from Alien, 1979. I love the usage of the fake torso and the bladder. What really gets it for me is the puppeteering and the mechatronics that come up.
Mm-hmm.
Like just excellent scene.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, Sturdy, what you got for number 5?
Society, the shunting scene.
It
really stands out. It's something. Yeah. It's one of those movies.
I try not to think about that scene, Sturdy. I try not to.
Oh well,
I love it.
and it's something you'll never forget. It's something I want to watch again. I've only seen it once, but like I could have just said shunting. I wouldn't even have to say the movie title. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, as soon as you said you said society, and I knew what you were talking about.
Yep. That's true too.
All right, Paul, what you got for number 5?
I want to Terminator, the stop motion of the Terminator coming out the fire. Because I don't want to lie to you guys, I didn't realize that was stop motion. I did some research for the scenes I liked, and then I was like, holy shit, my whole life, I just never realized it was stop motion. I was like, kudos to you guys. That was fucking that's an iconic scene to me. Just makes me
what drives me nuts about Terminator is that it's such a convoluted, crazy. After 2, you're just like everywhere. It's like, what is going on with this thing? All right, my number 5 for this one is the Raptors scene in Jurassic Park.
Oh,
very cool mix. Like I love their stalking and looking around and such. Like it was just, I thought it was a cool scene altogether. So
how they open doors.
Yeah, like the whole thing, like even when he like lifts back up and he's in the window, it's like, oh, it's so crazy. I love it. It's the magic of filmmaking. But I told that story before about the Brachiosaurus scene. That means so much to me, but I did not put that on my list because that's like a personal favorite. But let's go with number 4. All right, let's start with Sturdy Bird. What you got?
Number 4, Dead Alive, the lawnmower scene was just so much freaking fun.
I love that.
So much freaking fun. I remember the first time I seen that watching with my brother Henry, and when that scene came on, like you could pull more scenes from that movie, but the smile on my face.
I was gonna say not the zombie sex scene.
That was funny too. But just that lawnmower, and all that blood and gore, I was just like, this is hilarious. This is awesome. It's weird. It's ridiculous. and it works.
Same director as Lord of the Rings, ladies and
Two
gentlemen.
Towers. He's versatile, man. Another good one, Sturdy, you should check out of his if you haven't, The Frighteners.
Oh yeah.
All right. Sturdy did his, I'll do mine. So my number 4 is the defib scene from The Thing.
Awesome.
Love
That's
that
number
scene.
4.
You got to be fucking kidding me.
That's number 4.
Yeah, but I mean, I really like the other one.
Okay, no, I'm just okay.
I love that scene, and it's such a great. But it's number 4 in the top 5 of all of them. like there's so many.
There is.
Listen, I love it. Movies at Grandma's House says Jurassic Park is still peak. I agree with you. Don't shut up, Dan. All right, what's your number 4?
My number 4, the trench run from Star Wars: A New Hope. The usage of miniatures, and when I was a kid, I used to sit in front of the TV, all 27 inches of it, which was big then, and I'd sit in front of the TV and I'd go back and forth with Luke. Great scene, even though I've dogged on Star Wars a lot on this show. I still love that scene.
Your takes on Star Wars are dogged on the show. There's a difference. don't play the woe is me victim card. It's your takes, sir. All right, Paulie, what's your number 4, sir?
I went with Space Odyssey 2001, the scene where you see the spaceship and then it zooms in and then it goes to him just walking up that, the treadmill, if you will, but just walking up the ship. I said that scene.
All practical too.
Just fucking Kubrick, man. And Sam and Matt have not seen that, so we're actually watching that this weekend. So I'm excited to see what their first watch experience is.
I've tried to get so many people to watch that film, and it's really hard to get people to watch that.
It
film.
is, but I'm glad you are. And can I urge you of something?
Yes, sir.
If you walk away liking it and thinking about it and really having deep discussions about it, don't do this next piece of advice. But if you do, for a while, you can give it like a week. But if you don't like it, you walk away and you're like, I don't like this. I promise you, it's the same that everybody goes through except for Dan because he knew before he went into the theater. But it's the same for everyone, me included. You're not going to like it because you're not going to quite get it. But then go listen to Stanley Kubrick's interview about what the ending means and the symbolism, and it will click for you and you'll like it.
What movie is this again?
2001 Space Odyssey.
Or go read the book. Arthur C. Clarke's masterpiece. It's
never against the books. Go read the books, but it's a Kubrick film, dude. See the film.
Right. I'm excited for them to watch it. I didn't realize I hadn't seen that.
I think you're gonna. I like that. That's a good one. Wolverine Origins with the Claws is up there. I think he was talking about. I don't know. Actually, was that the one where he was in the bathtub or bathroom? Anyway, let's jump on to number 3. All right, Dan the Man, what you got for us?
My number 3, the Chariot. I already briefly mentioned it. The Chariot race from Ben-Hur, 1959, 100% practical. And actually, and I didn't know this until I was doing research, copied the 1928 Ben-Hur. But the 1928 Ben-Hur took 38 cameras to film. They did the Chariot scene in 1959 with a normal crew set and actually built the set out. And they don't have the tech from now. So they would race around the Coliseum with the cameras attached to the chariots. And I was like, man, Cecil B. DeMille, right, Mick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was one of the ultra, what they call it, the Panavision. It was one of the very first Panavision movies.
Yeah, and trust me, it helped to catch on. And I honestly like those movies too. I would say, watch The King of Kings, watch The Greatest Story Ever Told, watch all these like biblical epics that came out around that time because they really
Ten Commandments,
the filmmaking in that and the visual effects and the practical effects are amazing. Which leads me to my next one. Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Really?
It's from 1950, either 55 or 56, I believe.
Yeah.
I should have looked it up, but Sean Connery is actually in it. He's very, very young Sean Connery.
Was he like 20?
Yeah, he was playing an Irishman, so it's kind of funny. But it takes place in Ireland. Darby O'Gill is the town storyteller, so to keep. He finds and catches a leprechaun, the king of the leprechauns, and chaos ensues. But if you go watch that movie, the visual effects in that movie that were all done practically, in camera, all done practically, or layering the film in a certain way. But they used and I'll tell anybody who sees the Banshee scene, who may know this, is a practical effect. And I urge everybody to go check that out. But go watch the movie. I know it's very dated. It's a Disney movie that takes place in Ireland in the 50s. Yeah. It's like one of those family movies. But if you are a special effects fan, I do urge that. I have shown it
on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it was a famous Disney movie, but it's just not the cartoons of the time, which were big. But I have shown this movie to visual effects artists, and they all are like, "Wow, they looked into it," because they're very interested in how it works. That's mine. So, yeah, okay, Paul, what you got?
My number 3 is An American Werewolf in London. It's a transition scene when he turns into a werewolf, and I have a distinct memory of, I guess one of the main guys that did the special or the makeup for that happened to be at Universal when we went down there to watch the makeup thing because they talk about it. So I was like 9 years old, and I wasn't in movies then, but I just remember him talking about it and explaining it, and I was just blown away, just the patience and the thought process to do that. And it still amazes me. And that scene still tracks. I mean, I've yet to see a werewolf movie that doesn't either use that same thing or just throw CGI over it. And to me, I still think the practical effects of that look better than what anyone could touch today. So,
agreed. It's still the best wolf transformation, in my opinion.
I disagree.
What do you think yours is?
Don't say Twilight. I swear to God.
Ginger Snaps.
That is a good one, but I don't think it's the best. I think, come on, Werewolf in London.
That is a good one.
I love Ginger Snaps and the transformation, and I think that it's a better metaphor than a male. I think it's a better metaphor than the male.
Yeah, but in fairness, your favorite character from Donnie Darko is Patrick Swayze.
That is not true.
I was about to be like, holy shit, are you serious?
No. I love that movie. Roadhouse. Oh my God, I love Donnie Darko, but no.
He meant Roadhouse. Sorry. That's his favorite character in that movie.
Over the Top. Or is that Sylvester Stallone? That's my favorite.
Over the Top.
You're off on your 80s
heroes
movies. Sturdy, what you got for number 3, man?
Hellraiser. The scene where like they take Frank's skin off and it's just the thing of his body or whatever. That was. I'm not a big fan of those movies, but that was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
it really was.
That was impressive. And then
have you read the book, Sturdy? The book's called Hellbound Heart. It's by Clive Barker. What a phenomenal book, man! It is awesome.
He's the high priest, though. He's not Pinhead in that.
Yeah, he's called the High Priest.
Yeah. All right. Did I go? Yeah, I went with Darby O'Gill. That was my number 3, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I went American Werewolf in London.
That's true.
That's right.
Number 2.
One thing I will say about American Werewolf in London too is if it is copied, it's never copied like it was. It's always like maybe you see a snout growing or you see a hand growing.
Yeah.
It's never the full body, which you're right. I think still stands the test of time. All right, let's get to number 2. Let's start with let's kick it off with Paul since we talked about him last.
So I cheated. I have 2 for number 2 because I couldn't decide on 2.
Yeah,
so I'll start. So my first number 2 is going to be don't make fun of me. It's Smile 2. It's the main demon at the end because they use puppeteers. I'm big on puppets. And so I like that they barely put any CGI over the puppet for that scene coming out as the demon's coming out and has the face down in him. I thought that was awesome.
So good.
Second one is Late Night with the Devil, the scene where Lily's head is split in half and that being a practical effect. I thought that was awesome CGI, and just the fact that they did that, it looks amazing. And that's probably my favorite movie of last year.
That's fair.
That was my second favorite movie. Remember, that was my second favorite movie. I love that movie.
That's awesome.
Sturdy Bird, what you got?
The sadness, and just if you've seen the movie, the violence in that movie, just the practical effects they use in that. There's a reason why I love Asian horror films. They go there with the practical effects, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, they really do. What you got for me, Dan?
My number 2 is the hallway fight from Inception, which after doing research, I found out was entirely practical. I think that is probably the sequence wise anyway, the best scene that Nolan shot. But on top of that, like the fact that they did that practically using, honestly, the same thing that a lot of people did, Freddie did it. A lot of people did it. That's really impressive to me.
Yeah.
Because, do you feel like choreographing counts as part of this in terms of it? Because it's almost like, because it happens in the
choreographing,
camera.
visual effects, special effects.
Yeah. Like, I think that how that scene is shot is so visually impressive that I wanted to stand up. I don't remember if I did. I wanted to stand up in the theater. I was like, wow. And like,
not clap.
I'm not a clapper. I'm not a clapper.
Just stand up.
Yeah. I'm not a clapper. I didn't like some people cheer and stuff at the theater. I don't, remember like Endgame, everybody's like cheered and stuff when they did I was like, oh my God. I'm not a clapper or cheerer. I do laugh at really inappropriate times during horror movies.
Me too.
Entire theater is silent and I'll laugh my ass off and my wife punches me in the shoulder.
It's gonna be so. I can't. I was gonna be real mean, and I'm trying to be nice. I was gonna be, what part of Donnie Darko did you like?
That movie's awesome. Go suck a fuck, Donnie.
All right. My number 2 is I should probably look. My number 2 is the Johnny Depp's death scene from Nightmare on Elm Street 1.
Great choice.
And for the same, actually, 2 of my picks were inspired by 2 of yours, Dan, because I saw your list and I was like, no, that's not it. I want to go with this one. And I want, and not because I didn't like Inception's brilliant. And I was like, I kind of want to pay homage to the original though with that. And I love that scene and the blood and everything else. Like it was bonkers.
You know what the version is though?
What?
Fred Astaire. So
no, I just meant like turning.
Okay.
That idea of like the turning and choreography.
Apparently, Fred Astaire was the first one to do that in one of his films where he's dancing on the ceiling of the room or something like that. And Wes Craven, this is my Freddie nerd showing in me that my number of times I've seen that documentary. Fred Astaire did it in one of the rooms, and Wes Craven loved that movie as a kid, so we wanted to pull it in the first movie. And he was like, "This is exactly how we do it. So well balanced, they could spin the entire room with one finger."
Well, they did it, and Lionel Richie did it for Dancing on the Ceiling.
Yep.
So, like it's been done, like the turning room. I think for me, like Inception or Nightmare on Elm Street, it's spectacle.
Yeah,
it's not Johnny Depp in a scene. It's the blood. It's the it's the whole idea of everything. And then of course Inception, just the fight scene, and then like all the high stakes to it. Like it's just brilliant.
You know what I wanted to list though? Have you ever seen? Oh, it's a Viggo Mortensen film where he is
History of Violence.
History of Violence, the bathroom scene where they're fighting in the bathroom.
I guess that for real. Holy shit!
Like that's so good. That whole scene.
Scene.
Now they're
that
naked,
whole movie
which
is really
kind of
good.
weird, but like that's it. It's all shot in camera. There's no special effect. There's no. It's all the effects are all in camera. I want to list that, but I really do think Inception is more impressive. Sorry to take away from somebody else's time.
Did everybody do number 2?
Yeah.
Let's get to number 1. All right, everybody. So number 1 on the list. I'll go first on this one. And it was inspired by the chariot scene that you were talking about, Dan. And it's the Dark Knight chase scene and the truck flip. I feel like that's a modern day chariot scene.
Nice.
And just everything that went into it is
Great
truly
scene.
Brilliant. Like, and I wanted to celebrate that on here. So, yeah, that's my number 1. So let's go around the horn. Producer Paul, what you got for number 1?
So I put The Thing, and I said any fucking scene, but specifically, if I had to choose just one, it's got to be when he's trying to put those heart monitor on him and he's trying to pump him. Just goes straight through. I mean, I know it's coming. I'll still kind of just for a second, just because they're so quick with it and just everything that went into that scene and how hard it was for them to get that just right and timed. It's unbelievable.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yeah. All the way into the spider head and everything. Yeah, it's fantastic. It really is.
Love it.
All right. Well, I'm feeling, Dan, what's your number 1?
I mean, that I literally wrote basically every effect from The Thing. And it like John Carpenter does with that film is so impressive anyway. But the SFX crew, It's mind-boggling what they were able to accomplish using puppetry, animatronics, and in-scene makeup. I actually, my favorite scene probably isn't the reverse chest buster. That's kind of what I call it in my head. My favorite scene is actually the very first time you walk into the dog pen.
Yeah.
Because the very first time I watched that was at my parents' cottage. We had this, like, I mean, for the time it was great. It was like a 50-inch projection TV. So, I mean, I thought I was real cool. Surround sound watching it. I had rented it from Family Video. We went up for the weekend, and it was a blizzard. It was a blizzard, and I got it recommended from a friend of mine. He was like, "Oh, you like 80s horror? Well, how about this?" And I was like, "I've never seen that." So I went to rent it. You know, I'm like 16, maybe 15. And I sit down and I'm watching it, and they walk into that dog pen, and it was the suspense alone. But then suddenly they cut to the dog.
Yeah.
And it splits. I know you guys talk about the werewolf transformation. For 1980s, I think that is the pinnacle of transformation that takes place, is the dogs in the pen for the thing.
I'll tell you, the scene that always gets me is the Windows scene when he tests the blood and it pops up.
Oh,
that gets me.
There's a lot of scenes that
Sturdy, what you got for number one, my friend?
And really quick, you know what is funny is I knew the thing was going to be on the list, which was on all your list. I was like, I'm not using that movie, so I said Terrifier, the upside down scene.
Okay,
that one was wild, man.
Yeah, wild. It was awesome. And then the cool thing about it was, a couple of years ago at a con, I wish it was still going around, called Scarecon. We went. It was me, my wife, my brother Henry, and I had to panel. Well, my show had to panel for that Terrifier. That's when I was Terrifier too. But I had my brother do it because I was doing podcasting 101. But it was cool to hear the girl that was the woman that was hung upside down, like just telling her she was saying how it was cold, it was just a long day, and this, that, and it's like I love hearing that kind of stuff from those type of films. And then for that scene, the way that scene is, and again, for anyone that's seen Terrifier, all you have to say is upside down. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and it's a scene that just stuck. These, like, all these things are just things that really stuck out to me. And there's like a hell of a lot more, but I'm like, I gotta narrow it down to 5.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I wanted to put Raimi on the list just because he was so, like, groundbreaking, and I was like, I don't have room. Like, I didn't like.
Not
so
that hard or
For
easy. I mean, is it?
A fun one I almost threw on just to throw on Jason was the uppercut from Jason Takes Manhattan. Hilarious scene.
Oh,
No.
It's silly. It's fun. But then when you see the head in the cop car, you're just like, oh, how'd you get here?
All right, everybody. I'm going to bring up, because you might be watching this as a clip, listen to it, or watching the whole live or the whole thing later. Guys, remember, February 1st, 2025, 10-hour live stream starting at 3 p.m. Eastern with yours truly, all of us, the Scene Snobs, will be here to kick things off, and then we'll be hosting throughout the night and have great shows along the way. Everything goes towards the American Red Cross efforts towards the LA wildfire relief. We want to try and help them as much as we can. The GoFundMe is live. Everything is linked below. The YouTube and all that stuff is linked below. We'd love for you to be a part of it. Before I get to the end of this, let's kick it off with Mick's movie pick from 1948, and you can check this out tomorrow on a classic film review. But it is Key Largo. If you haven't seen it, it is one of the quintessential hostage movies where you have 3 convicts who are escaping during a hurricane in Key Largo, and they take hostages in like a small little resort hotel during that season. And Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, Edward G. Robinson, Nina Seymour. It's a great film noir. Again, it's film noir.
What a beautiful woman. Wow.
It is a beautiful movie for sure, and it's from 1948. So go check it out. It's Film Noir Month. Remember, we're going to be kicking it off next week with romance movies from here to eternity. But this will be out tomorrow, the classic film review. We'd love for you to be doing it. But guys, another show. And we got through it with visual effects and practical effects and all the love.
Bad and good.
Sturdy, tell them where they can find you.
Over on Horror Research 30, you can find me doing a live show tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Make sure you tune in for that. It's going to be a grand old time. And every Saturday night, 9 o'clock Eastern time, Popcorn and Pints. We're doing a lot of fun stuff over there. You guys should tune into both of those. But more importantly, like Mick said, this Saturday, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Pull up, pull your wallets out, and let's help some people.
Exactly. Dan the Man, what you got for us?
Saturday, I'm going to do a special episode of Master Shake's moderately entertaining mixology minutes.
Such a name.
Tune in. Like I do love teaching people how to do things. I mean, it's my career, but I do love teaching people how to make cocktails. And I think that like the two I got planned are classics as it is, mezcal sour. And then, I mean, really, really, it's like a gin and soda. That's like two classic drinks. Have some fun. It's called moderately entertaining for a reason, because hopefully it makes you smile. But the truth is this, we're going to have fun on Saturday, and it's all for a good cause.
Absolutely. And producer Paul, for y'all, what you got for us?
Besides the casters for calls, you guys, and make sure to tune in. I don't know exactly what I'll be talking about when I'm with you, but I'll be there at the start.
I think we'll just have fun.
That works perfect for me. I will say,
do part 2 of FX.
Oh, we could. I'm sure you guys got more notes and stuff.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
But with them not having a lot of blockbusters out right now, you guys, if you can afford it, go to the movie theater, show them some love, because I know it's a slow season for them. It's tough for all theaters across the board, even the big chains.
Popcorn's delicious.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And The Companion just came out. I've been reading the reviews. It looks pretty good. So if you need something for a date night or even a horror movie you can sneak in that she might think is going to be a love story, I think that might be it. So,
or if you want to watch a hard drama, I just watched Presents.
We need to talk about that.
We're going to talk about Presents. Maybe we'll review it, because we're going to review it after Casters. So
yes.
Save it for that, because I'm interested to hear what because I have a lot to say about it.
Same.
So guys, with that and the mention of popcorn tasting good, I want to talk again about our Patreon. If you want to join up, we have a free tier. You can just follow us and you get a newsletter. You get all of our links, our updates, and more. We're having a good time over there. It gets you into our Discord. You can come hang out with us there. We're having fun conversations. And also we do giveaways sometimes. And you can also support. We do have tiers, and it helps. Everything goes back in the show, helps us. But we're going to be giving away to one of our lucky patrons. We'll be spinning the wheel at random again, February 28th. I will be spinning the wheel, and one lucky winner will win the Beetlejuice popcorn bucket from Regal. It has a cool little shelf thing here. The top comes off, and the cool part about it, it lights up. But I didn't take the tab out. Leave that for whoever gets it. But it lights up green, and it will keep your popcorn mean. That's right, everybody. So I really appreciate everybody being here today and talking, movies. It's just always a good time. So I want to say thank you to all of you who are watching, listening, hanging out, maybe seeing it in clips. We love you. Join us, Snob Nation. We love movies. We know you do too. Why not become a member? But until next time, remember to be kind to each other. Be good to yourselves, because that is very important. And always stay classy. Take care.